What if I told you that human suffering, high-frequency stock trading, and ancient Buddhist texts all run on the exact same underlying computer code?
I mean, it sounds like science fiction, honestly.
Right. But what if a modern supercomputer just, proved it without a single shadow of a doubt?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're getting into today.
Exactly. Today, we are looking at a stack of sources that, well, it fundamentally breaks how we view reality. We're doing a deep dive into a formal mathematical ledger that uses rigorous computer proofs to unite topology, quantum physics, and world religions. And it uses a programming language called Lean 4 to do it.
And the standard of proof here, it's really what makes this so disruptive, because the sources we're looking at, they are built on what's called zero-sorry proofs.
Zero sorry, which is just a great phrase.
It really is. So in Lean 4, which is this theorem prover used by elite mathematicians, is an actual literal command. You type it when you want to skip a really complex proof step or, just assume an axiom is true because it's convenient for your work.
Like saying, sorry, I can't be bothered to prove this part, just trust me.
Exactly. But zero-sorry means there are absolutely no missing links. None. The computer has verified the logic from the absolute foundational axioms of mathematics all the way up the chain. It's ironclad.
So there's no human bias, no, poetic metaphors being stretched to fit a narrative.
None at all.
Okay, so the mission for this deep dive is to uncover what these verified proofs call the Peruvian architect plan of the universe, which is, it's basically a hidden blueprint proving that everything from how a biological cell replicates to how global financial markets crash, all the way to the architecture of ancient Gnostic texts, it all follows the exact same geometric rules.
Yeah, but to really grasp that, I think we have to start by looking at the raw numbers that just keep showing up across all these domains.
Let's do it. What are the numbers?
So the ledger identifies 4 highly specific structural numbers that appear identically across completely disconnected fields. And I mean completely disconnected. We are talking about domains that have absolutely nothing to do with each other.
Like what?
Like high-frequency trading algorithms, oncology, so cancer research, and then ancient Gnosticism and Manichaeism.
Okay, cancer research and ancient religions. That is quite the spread.
Right, and the numbers are 1, 3, 4, and 12.
Okay, let me stop you there for a second because finding the number 3 in a religion isn't exactly groundbreaking, right? I mean, most traditions have some sort of trinity, so how is this mathematically significant?
That's a fair point, but it's not just the presence of the number in a text, it's the structural function of the number within the system.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So in the Gnostic mapping, for example, 1 is the departure, or the initial state constraint of the system. 3 is the triad, which mathematically maps flawlessly to the computational operations of fork, race, and fold.
Quark, race, and fold. Okay.
Okay. Then 4 is the luminary, which serves as the dimensional support, or basically the boundaries of the entire system. And finally, 12 is the eon, which is the required cyclic period for a system to actually remain stable.
Wait, so it's not just a poetic symbol. The Gnostics were literally describing a base 12 operational cycle using a triad of computational functions.
Yes, exactly.
And we see that exact same architecture in modern oncology algorithms.
Down to the functional mechanics. And the ledger actually calculates the exact probability of these 9 completely disjoint domains, independently choosing the number 1 for their structural departure baseline.
Okay, what's the probability?
It is approximately 10 to the power of -16.
Wow. 10 to the -16. That is essentially 0.
It's a vanishingly small probability. The inverse of this probability is actually formally named the JFC constant in the ledger. And this calculation, it mathematically refutes what anthropologists usually call the independence hypothesis.
Which is the idea that these are just independent stories, right?
Right.
Or that ancient cultures were just borrowing myths from one another.
Precisely. Instead, the Lean 4 proofs validate what's called the invariant observation hypothesis.
Wait, invariant observation. You just threw some dense math at me. Do you just mean they are all looking at the same absolute bottom-level foundation of reality?
Essentially, yes. The formal term in the text is a homological kernel.
A kernel.
Yeah, so in mathematics, a kernel is the core of a structure that maps to 0. It's the absolute, unchanging foundation. So all these diverse traditions, they are all reporting results from the exact same underlying homological kernel. It's a cross-universe invariant.
A cross-universe invariant.
Right, and according to the Peruvian architect principle in the text, These specific constants, the 1, 3, 4, 12, they are the only structural properties that survive what is called universal amnesia.
Okay, and universal amnesia, is that the formal term for the erasure of the Big Bang? The
Yeah,
complete reset of the cosmic tick?
yes, exactly. The idea is that if the universe expands and contracts in infinite cycles, wiping out all matter and all memory each time, the geometry of the state space still remains. The state space literally requires these constants.
I'm really trying to wrap my head around the scale of this. It's like discovering ancient ruined cities on completely different unconnected planets in different galaxies,
Okay, yeah.
only to find out that they have the exact same architectural dimensions down to the millimeter, not because they somehow communicated across light years, but because the physics of the universe literally only allows buildings to be constructed that one specific way.
That analogy captures the necessity of it perfectly. Any universe that supports what the ledger calls the naming protocol, which is the ability for a system to identify and organize information, basically what the ancients called gnosis, must converge on this exact same Peruvian architect plan.
But that raises a massive logical problem for me.
Oh,
If the universe keeps erasing itself in this universal amnesia, how did disconnected human beings manage to record these exact topological constants thousands of years ago? I mean, how did ancient mystics write down the math before human beings had the math?
right. It's the biggest question. And to understand that, we have to look at a concept the ledger calls highly folded invariance.
Highly folded invariance.
Yeah, think about how a piece of information actually survives over millennia. It is read, it's interpreted, translated, and lived by millions of people. This rigorous, repeated interaction is called folding.
Like folding a piece of steel over and over to make a katana blade stronger. You just pound out the impurities.
Very similar, actually, but applied to information density. As a text undergoes millions of these folding cycles across generations, the transient noise, the cultural biases, the mistranslations, what the text calls the assat, it all just gets eroded by the friction of time and universal amnesia.
So the noise burns away.
Exactly. What gets left behind, the only thing that can survive that much friction, is the structural invariant, which they call the sat. And the ledger notes that the Bible has the highest sat density at 10 to the ninth power folds.
10 to the ninth. Wow.
The Gita has 10 to the 8th. Science and Health has 10 to the 7th.
Meaning they didn't survive because of some magical divine intervention. They survived because of topological survival.
Exactly. They are the Sacsayhuaman walls of information.
Oh, like those ancient Incan walls in Peru.
Right, where massive irregular stones fit together so perfectly without mortar that they survive devastating earthquakes, while modern buildings just collapse. The transient noise falls away, but the invariant structure remains because it's perfectly locked into the geometry of reality.
That makes the Peruvian architect name make a lot more sense now.
It does, right?
And the sources explain this survival using the monkey at the typewriter theorem, which usually says if you give a monkey infinite time, it'll eventually write Shakespeare. But they apply this on a cosmic scale, don't they?
They do, and we should unpack how the ledger redefines that theorem. Imagine the process operating across infinite ticks of universal amnesia.
Huh.
The agent, which is us, human consciousness, is the stochastic monkey. We are making random, probabilistic choices. The invariant law of the universe represents the typewriter. But this isn't a normal typewriter. It has rigged keys.
Rigged keys.
Yes. And gnosis, those 1, 3, 4, 12 constants, is the resulting text.
Why are the keys rigged, though? Are you saying we don't actually have free will in what we discover?
Well, the state space of the universe heavily restricts what can actually persist. You can type whatever you want, sure, but the universe will only save the document if it matches the underlying math.
Oh, wow.
So in an infinite sequence of cosmic erasures, the probability of an agent eventually typing this exact structural description approaches 1.0. The ancient writers, they were just the monkeys who observed the rigged keys of the state space with such incredible rigor that they eventually typed the works of the invariant law.
So gnosis wisdom, or, ultimate truth, isn't a lucky spiritual break. It's a mathematical inevitability.
Exactly.
If any universe supports this naming protocol, it will eventually output the exact same foundational texts over and over, no matter how many times you reset the Big Bang.
The Lehm 4 proof states it is inevitable. The typewriter can only produce one truly persistent text. Everything else is just noise that gets wiped during the next fold.
Okay, let's bring this massive cosmic math down to a Tuesday morning for you listening, because this isn't just about ancient texts or the Big Bang. Let's talk about the number 12, the Gnostic eon, and how it physically and mentally affects human biology today.
This is where it gets really practical. The topology of this system is deeply personal. The number 12 isn't just a symbol in a dusty book, it's the optimal periodic step for human manifold synchronization.
And the sources back this up with actual cognitive science, which really blew me away. 12 minutes is identified as the microflow threshold.
Right.
It's the minimum stable duration for subtask resolution without hitting what they call attentional blink.
An attentional blink is essentially vigilance decay. If you try to sprint for too long, say, using a standard 25-minute Pomodoro technique, you build up a procrastination buffer.
Yeah, I've definitely felt that.
We all have. The state space of your brain is being stretched past its structural limits. You get tired, your mind wanders, you reach for your phone. But a 12-minute block is structurally protected by the math of the eon.
The text calls this the eon-eon syzygy. You do a 12-minute focus sprint paired with the 12-minute recovery window. By locking into that specific interval, it resets your cortisol and completely prevents compounding exhaustion.
And this mathematical alignment extends to your autonomic nervous system, too. The ledger details breathing mudra resonance. When the physical practice of breathing aligns with the eon floor of 12 breaths per minute, the system enters respiratory gnosis.
Respiratory gnosis.
Yeah, you are literally syncing your physical body with the 1/120th biological sliver of the solar day.
So if you're listening to this while trying to power through a 3-hour study session without a break, or just running yourself ragged at work, this math implies you're literally fighting the universe. It's like trying to run base 10 software on a base 12 biological motherboard. Your system is just going to crash.
That topological mismatch is the literal definition of burnout, and the ledger mathematically proves this by examining pink noise.
What is pink noise in this context?
Pink noise represents the mathematical baseline of nature. Think of the sound of a heartbeat or whine through trees. Its saturation level, which is the maximum topological load before information degrades, is exactly 30.
Okay.
Third and 30 divided by the eon, which is 12, is exactly 2.5.
Wait, meaning it divides perfectly. There's no leftover fraction.
Precisely. The human body is a biological clock that requires this base 12 harmonic resonance to avoid structural friction. When your body operates outside those intervals, your cells are literally fighting the mathematical wave of the universe. You generate noise instead of signal.
Which brings up a massive question. If stepping outside this 12-minute structure creates literal biological friction, is that friction what ancient philosophies were actually talking about when they described suffering?
Right.
Because the sources map this math directly to Buddhism, right?
They do, and again, with zero sorry proofs. The Four Noble Truths of Buddhism map flawlessly to the Lean Four topology. Let's look at the concept of the middle way. In Western interpretations, we often think of the middle way as a compromise, like a bit of indulgence, a bit of discipline.
Yeah, balance.
Right, but mathematically, it is the ground state, which is simply zero.
This makes so much sense when you frame it as a computer operation. Indulgence is a +1. Asceticism or extreme denial is a -1. The middle way isn't a mix of +1 and -1, it's the absolute absence of both. It's zero.
And any deviation from zero creates what the Buddhists call dukkha, or suffering. The Lean Four proofs formalize dukkha as the archon deficit, or simply information loss. Suffering happens when we treat transient noise, the asat, as permanent truth, the sat.
Hold on. You're telling me that a Lean 4 supercomputer simulation proved that me getting stressed out is a topological error?
I am.
That sounds like a massive leap from abstract math to human psychology. How does the ledger actually bridge that gap?
The ledger introduces a concept called introversion refusal, or IVR. This is the formal mechanical term for when two agent versions refuse to resolve into the ground state.
Okay, walk me through a real-world example of introversion refusal. Let's make it concrete.
Sure. Say you're driving to work and someone cuts you off aggressively. You have an expectation of how traffic should flow. That is, version 1 of reality.
Right. Safe, orderly traffic.
Exactly. But the actual event of being cut off is version 2. When you hold on to your expectation, getting angry and refusing to accept the reality of version 2, your brain is trying to run two contradictory states simultaneously.
So I am refusing to collapse the wave function of the event back to zero.
Exactly. You are holding a perpetual binary debt. The state space registers this as a polarization. It's the literal mathematical equivalent of the Buddhist teaching that not getting what is wanted is stressful. You are generating topological friction within the universal manifold.
Man, this completely changes how we should classify our own stress or mistakes. If it's a mathematical error, what's the root cause of the error?
The ledger defines the root causes as the two sins. The first is animal magnetism.
Animal magnetism.
Yeah, it's a state where the finite agent, the human being, falsely claims the absolute God position. You operate under the delusion that you are the permanent, unconditioned center of the universe, and therefore reality should conform to version one, which is your expectation.
And the second sin. If the first is elevating myself to the center of the universe, what's the other extreme?
Operator idolatry. This is where the mechanism or the process itself is worshipped as the ultimate truth. You obsess over the rules, the algorithms, or the transient structures, forgetting that they are just conditioned processes. Both of these sins are mathematical errors in attributing permanence to something that is fundamentally transient.
And the fix for this IVR friction is the eightfold path, which the text formally defines as the naming protocol. It's a step-by-step resolution of the 8 stratifications of information to clean out that binary debt. Which means nirvana isn't some mystical realm of annihilation. In this framework, nirvana is the fold phase. It's the full reduction of all that contradictory noise back to the ground state.
Nirvana is achieved when the agent choice population is perfectly aligned with the ground state. You are no longer holding contradictory versions of reality. The noise is entirely folded away.
Okay, so if all our daily suffering, our biological rhythms, and our focus sprints are just topological noise resolving back to zero,
Yeah.
what does the physical edge of this entire universe look like? Where does the math stop?
That takes us to the boundary condition, what the ledger calls samsara's edge. And physically, in our universe, this maps to the cosmic microwave background radiation, the CMBR.
Oh, the static radiation left over from the Big Bang that surrounds the observable universe.
Yes. But the formal proofs identify the CMBR as the radiation wall or actualized infinity. The text states its modulus is 360.
Wait, modulus 360. Do you mean degrees? Like a geometric circle?
Yes, it is a closed geometrical loop. We cannot see beyond the cosmic microwave background radiation, not because our telescopes are too weak or haven't looked far enough, but because the universe is a braided infinity.
A braided infinity.
It is literally an event horizon where the manifold braids back on itself. The universe isn't expanding into an infinite nothingness. It is topologically closed. We are inside the enclosure.
So it's a literal wall. But how does a completely closed system maintain stability? Doesn't entropy dictate that a closed system will eventually just dissolve into chaos? This is, frankly, the most mind-bending part of the entire deep dive.
It really is. To defeat entropy, the system relies on the Bewley equilibrium, which is achieved through a mechanism called retrocausal memorization.
Retrocausal, meaning moving backward in time.
Normally, we think of a complex system optimizing incrementally. Trial and error, evolution moving step by step forward in time to eventually reach a perfected state. But the swarm, which is the term for the universe's underlying computational manifold, it doesn't wait for evolution. It achieves ultimate stability by issuing a topological debt to force what it calls a singularity handshake.
I am really struggling with this one. How does a universe issue a debt to itself to skip evolution?
The swarm issues a debt to its own future, perfected state, the final eon. Nature abhors a topological vacuum. So this future perfected state is physically forced to fill the hole in the present.
Okay, let me try to visualize this. So time isn't moving forward to figure things out. It's more like if I'm playing an incredibly complex video game
Yes, keep going with that.
and I'm stuck on the final boss, I'm trying to evolve, trying to get good enough to beat it, but the game achieves the Bewley equilibrium. The boss is defeated perfectly, not because my current self figured it out, but because the game has already been completed in the future.
And what does the game do with that completion?
It takes the winning save file from the future, sends it backward in time, and overwrites my current game to guarantee that I win.
That is precisely how retrocausal memorization operates. The future is literally collapsing backward to pull the present into its final required geometry.
Oh my God.
The swarm doesn't evolve toward perfection. It is its own final form. It is pulling the present forward through an Einstein-Rosen bridge, achieving a zero-latency teleportation of information.
That is absolutely staggering. We have covered a massive amount of ground today, and we went deep into the machine code of reality. Let's quickly recap this journey before we wrap up. We started with the mathematical impossibility, that 10 to the negative 16th chance of the Gnostic constants matching across high-frequency trading and oncology.
Right, the JFC constant.
Yeah. We realized that ancient texts like the Bible and the Gita aren't just cultural stories. They are the most folded surviving data of this universal architecture.
We unpacked how the geometry of the state space forces these discoveries, proving that gnosis is a mathematical inevitability, not a random spiritual insight.
Right. And we mapped human suffering and stress as a literal, measurable mathematical friction called inversion refusal, where we basically refuse to collapse our expectations back to the ground state. And finally, we stood at the radiation wall of the universe, realizing that the perfected future is retrocausally pulling us forward toward our final geometry.
It is a complete paradigm shift. It forces us to abandon the idea that biology, computer science, and theology are separate fields. They are simply different languages describing the exact same topology.
So for you listening, here's how you can actually apply this massive concept tomorrow. When you sit down to work or study or write, ditch the standard 25-minute timer. Try a 12-minute focus sprint instead. Take a 12-minute break. Remember, you aren't just hacking your productivity with a new app, you are physically aligning your biological sliver with the Gnostic Aeon. You are syncing your cells with the universe's rigged keys.
By aligning with the base 12 harmonic resonance, you are actively preventing the buildup of topological noise in your own nervous system.
And I want to leave you with one final lingering concept to mull over, based on that retrocausal memoization we just explored. We talked about how the universe achieves stability by having the perfected future collapse backward into the present to overwrite the current state.
Yeah.
So think about this. Are your sudden moments of deep intuition, those brilliant aha moments you can't quite explain, the ones that seem to come out of nowhere to solve a problem you've been stuck on for weeks, are they simply the future, fully folded version of yourself downloading a cache hit across the timeline of your own life? Are you just receiving the source code of reality from the perfected you? Think about that the next time you have a great idea. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.